back to the From Saturdays to Sundays podcast. It's one of your hosts, Cam. I'm flying solo today. Kale is out in Florida enjoying a much-needed vacation, well-deserved for him. So you're going to be stuck with me today. Might also be stuck with me on Tuesday. Today we're going to be focusing only on college football. Obviously, we've been doing college football on Tuesdays up until this point, but we did NFL this last Tuesday. That was episode 11. This is 12. It's going to be only college football. And I'm going to start it off. We'll get to the recap of week 7, but I want to start off with talking about my most likely upsets that we talked about at the end of last episode for college football. Kennesaw State, I mentioned, plus 7.5 over Louisiana Tech. That hit. They won. I took a money line. I hope some of you guys did too. Southern Miss and Georgia Southern. I told you guys I was feeling Georgia Southern plus 3.5. They didn't win, but they at least covered. And that was due to a late push, a late comeback. So they lost 38-35, but they covered at 3.5. The Oklahoma State was a flat miss. I missed that one. I was saying to take them plus 14.5 over Houston. Houston's looking good. They're quietly 5-1. We'll talk about them a little bit later. Charlotte plus 16.5. They covered over Army. So again, not taking that as a good hit or a win because I did mention some of these teams I was going to be taking money line, but they at least covered. So if you took that, but Bowling Green plus 10.5, I was pretty confident in taking them money line. They were down 21-0. We'll talk about that a little bit more later, and they did win over Toledo. Maryland covered again. It took them 2 weeks ago to cover, and against Washington, plus 5.5, and they also covered this week plus 6.5. They should have won, but we'll talk about that later too. Ball State, that was a miss. Western Michigan's looking good. They're leading the MAC. Arizona State, we did mention that. That was prior to the news of Sam Levitt being out. Kale and I both did change our pick to Utah after we found that out. The line also changed from 5.5 to 8.5. Pulled out of that one. We also did get the Pitt. We talked about Pitt. Kale took Pitt flat out. I took them plus 10.5. They won. So that was another good one we got. So yeah, a couple misses in here. I'm going to count 2 misses, 3 covered, and 3 money line picks for the upsets for our upset picks. I called it Cam's, but it's Kale too. Kale's involved even if he's not here. So those are some exciting things coming out of it just based on our calls. But there's also a lot of other really exciting stuff that happened in week 7. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with the recap. Number 27, South Florida versus North Texas. Kale and I were talking about how excited we were for this game. We got to watch it before his birthday dinner on Friday. It was great. 21-21 at the half. Both teams throwing punches. Both teams responding. And then South Florida just ran away with it. I mean, a 28-point third quarter, 63-36 final. Byron Brown looked great. He had 245 pass yards, only 6 incompletions, 3 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but he also ran the ball for 82 yards and 2 touchdowns. So South Florida just proved they're legit. They're a legit group of 5 team. Again, with their only loss being to Miami, who's currently ranked number 2. I'd say they still have to get through Memphis. They still have to get through Navy. But so far, they're looking like the group of 5 team to make it in. Memphis and Navy are going to be tough ones, but they look great. And North Texas isn't a bad team. It's just that South Florida, they had the long sprinter speed in this game, and they ran away with it. And then we do have to talk about Illinois Ohio State, 34-16. Kale's not here. He might get mad at me when he listens to it. Expected by me. I know there was a lot of hope for Illinois fans. I mean, 3 takeaways by Ohio State. That was the big one. Can't do that. And Altmaier's interception, his first of the year, it was a batted ball. I'm not going to put all the blame on him. The punter with his knee hitting the ground, turnover on downs, puts Ohio State in scoring territory. And then I believe it was a fumble. So yeah, 34-16 final. Drops Illinois from the rankings. And, at work, being in Central Illinois, do talk to a lot of Illinois fans. So they were talking about how Notre Dame is still ranked, but Illinois is not. And I think that comes down to the fact that Notre Dame's losses are by a total of 4 points to Texas A&M and Miami, 2 top 10 teams, whereas Illinois are by 71 points combined, 53 to Indiana and 18 Ohio State. So I think that's the reason Illinois drops. I don't think they're going to be gone for long. I mean, coming up, like I said, the game I'm most worried about for them is at Washington in a couple weeks. They're on a bye this week, so maybe they can get some things together. Very good possibility they finish 10-2. And again, even though 71 points combined for your 2 losses is rough, still an option, still a path to get into the playoffs. And so that's Ohio State, Illinois. I don't think there's a ton to talk about. I mean, Ohio State's maybe not getting it done as dominantly as Ohio State fans want, but they're still getting it done. They're beating good teams, and I don't want to hear any bias from maybe SEC fans. The Big Ten is hard, so they're getting it done. And staying in the Big Ten, Indiana versus Oregon. This one was hard to watch. Indiana dominated the trenches. I can't remember the last time I've seen Oregon get pushed around like that as an Oregon fan. This is in the trenches. It was tough. It was tough. Oregon did look flat, but all credit to Indiana. All credit to Indiana. They played great. Elijah Surratt continues to show out. He had 8 catches for 121 and a touchdown, coming off of 7 receptions for 156 and a touchdown versus Iowa. So he's balling out. It's cool to see. I liked him at JMU. He followed Kurt Cignetti over. Fernando Mendoza, I like it. He's one of the most humble players in college football, and it's just hard to not like the guy. It's hard not to like Kurt Cignetti. He backs up his talk. So yeah, I would say Oregon did look flat. But, I mean, it's all credit to Indiana, man. He turned that program around. Kurt Cignetti is a winner, and I know there's a lot of talk about the Penn State job opening, but last year in 2024, Cignetti said he's there to stay. He's there to turn Indiana into a powerhouse, and he's doing it. He's backing up his talk from almost a year ago. So it was great to see, I mean, again, I am an Oregon fan, but I got to give respect and credit to Indiana. That was a great game. They played a complete game, and now Indiana's got a clear path to the Big Ten championship. And, being as an Oregon fan, I'm kind of on the bright side of things. Oregon doesn't make it. Maybe they don't get that first round bye in the playoffs and then choke to Ohio State or whatever and have a first round exit. So maybe in the long run, this is better for Oregon to get a loss out of the way. They can recover. They're at Rutgers this weekend, which we'll cover in the Week 8 preview, but had to touch on it. That was a great game. I was watching that while we were in line for a ride for 3 hours at Six Flags. Not Keller House fault, but we won't get into that. Moving on, we have Washington State and Ole Miss. I have a big Washington State fan as a friend. He went there. He ran track there. He was really happy. He was texting me about this game. Should anyone be worried? I mean, 24-21 final, number 14 in the nation. We know Washington State isn't the best, but they are 3-3. I don't think anyone should be worried. I think every team is going to have a slip-up week. There are trap games for a reason. We'll see. Obviously, Ole Miss has to bounce back fast because they play at Georgia this weekend. I'm not worried at this moment. It was a tough watch. You would like to see Ole Miss put up more points on Washington State, especially after you saw what North Texas did to them. But yeah, I'm not overly worried at this point. Just something to keep an eye on. It was definitely one of the more interesting scores, and it did make them drop a spot in the rankings to number 5. And then we have Florida, Texas A&M. I said it last week. Texas A&M is legit. I took Texas A&M in this game. Pretty sure Kale did as well. 34-17 final. The run game is awesome for A&M. It's really balanced between Reuben Owens, Le'Veon Moss, and Marcel Reed. I mean, 134 combined yards between 3 players isn't the best, but 3 touchdowns, and I just like how they're splitting the carries. I like Texas A&M. I think they're proving a lot of people, including myself, wrong. So 34-17 final against Florida. Napier's job. He's on the hot seat still. We'll see what he does with that. I mean, we kind of expected maybe a flip-flop. Like, they'll beat Texas, they'll lose, then they'll beat another ranked team, then they'll lose. But we'll see how that goes. The Red River rivalry was kind of a bummer, to be honest. Just watching Mateer and how rough it looked out there. I mean, the 3 picks, 18 incompletions, only 200 yards. Credit to Texas' defense and special teams, though. They had a 75-yard punt return. Defense looked solid the whole game. I mean, only giving up 6 points to Oklahoma. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Mateer was rushed back. I don't want to make that an excuse or a fallback for him. But 23-6 final gets Texas back in the rankings. Oklahoma's fine. They have 1 loss. They're fine, but they got to figure it out fast because they do play at South Carolina this weekend. That's not the easiest game. Keeping it in the SEC, Alabama, Missouri. 27-24 final. Missouri competed. There's still a lot to look forward to with them. And also, on the other hand, I don't think Alabama fans should be worried about this close win. I think Missouri, because there's a lot of stuff going into the game, Missouri hasn't played anyone. Missouri's not that good. They're overrated again. I think they are a good team. So I think a 27-24 win is still good for Alabama. I don't think Alabama has anything to worry about. Ty Simpson played well. The defense was pretty good. I mean, they picked off Pabula twice, and they held Ahmad Hardy, who was my Heisman favorite too, and a lot of people's, to 52 yards on 12 carries. So the defense was balling. I think it's a good win. I think it's a good, tough win on the road at a good SEC team. So I liked it for Alabama. I know Kale enjoyed that. Georgia Auburn 20-10 final. That was a rough, controversial ending, I would say. There's a lot of people putting stills out there of the ball looking like it was over the goal line before it was fumbled. I'm not going to get into all that. Either way, it was an ugly win, I would say, for Georgia. Auburn struggling offensively, but again, they're playing good defenses. So, I don't know. We'll talk about Hugh Freeze in a little bit. And last game I'm going to talk about for the SEC was Arkansas-Tennessee, 34-31 final. I mean, it seems like Arkansas is kind of Tennessee's kryptonite, I would say, in the last 2 years. They upset them last year at home, and they almost got it again this year on the road, but Tennessee held out. They've had a lot of these close, high-scoring wins. So we'll see how that translates into a certain game they got coming up this weekend. But moving over to the Big 12 real quick, BYU, Arizona. That was a great win for BYU. Arizona's not a pushover team either. It's on the road, 33-27, double overtime final. Iowa State beating Colorado. They get a ranked win. Hopefully that can maybe put the Buffs back on track. They're at 3-4 now. I mean, bowl game is still very much alive, but, with kind of the culture and expectations Deion's trying to instill, that's not what you always want to shoot for. But all things considered, great win for Colorado. Pittsburgh versus Florida State, moving over to ACC. I touched on that a little bit on our kind of upsets that we picked last week. That was a back and forth game. That was a great game. I mean, Pitt looked good. They benched Eli Holstein a couple weeks ago. They've been kind of on fire since. I love Desmond Reed. He's a little running back, slot receiver. He can do it all. I mean, Thomas Castellano still looked good. He was throwing some balls on some angles that I didn't think were possible, so he looked good. But now Florida State falls to 3-3. I think it's time to start talking about Norvell again. Get to that in a bit. Just want to throw it out there. UCLA. They're kind of on fire. They upset Michigan State. I say upset because they were 7.5-point underdogs, 38-13 final. UCLA's balling. Nico's looking good, man. So that's a team to keep an eye on. Like they're 2-4. Bowl game though would be crazy after starting 0-4 and then cleaning house on the coaching staff. So they're exciting. I'm gonna keep watching them. Hope you guys do too. Talked about Toledo Bowling Green a little bit. Took that as an upset pick. But Bowling Green was down 21-0 at one point. Came back to win 28-23. That was an exciting action. Keeping in the MAC, too, Kent State got a dub. 42-6 versus UMass. UMass now is hands down the worst team in FBS college football. Sorry to the Minutemen. But it was exciting. Kent State brought out the Powder Blues. DeRealis Clark returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. Drew DeShields looked good at quarterback. So, hey, I don't know. Kent State's now 2-1 or 1-1 in the MAC. That's pretty good after an 0-12 season, so we'll see what happens going forward for them. I mean, they got a couple tough games coming up, but hey, Kent State football, something to be excited about. The big one, Northwestern punches Franklin's ticket, 22-21. His first loss at Penn State now to Northwestern, and his final losses too. We'll get into the Franklin situation a little bit, but got to talk about that. Nebraska versus Maryland. Raiola threw three interceptions, but he also threw a touchdown with 1:08 left to win 34-31. Something's going on with Maryland. They were leading 31-24 heading into the fourth, and now back-to-back weeks, they blew a fourth quarter lead to lose. Again, they have young players. Mike Loxley is a decent coach. They got to figure it out, though, man. I'm glad I'm taking their spread, and they keep getting the spread, but I want to see them win. I don't know, something about Maryland football. I want to see them start winning these games. They could have beat Washington. Now they could have beat Nebraska. They didn't. It's in the past. Good job for Raiola to get that touchdown to win 34-31. But, man, I do feel for Maryland fans. If there's any out there listening, I do feel for you, and I want success for you guys. And then one of the other games I like, UNLV Air Force. I mean, we talked about Air Force last week against Navy. The Air Force offense is exploding. I mean, 51-48 final. UNLV just held it out in the last seconds, but Sarshka had 175 and one touchdown in the air, 136, 2 touchdowns rushing. And as a team, they had 428 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. So last week, they were airing it out pretty good. This week, they went back to their bread and butter, the run. Really exciting game. Air Force, their record isn't good, but they're gonna make teams work for it in the Mountain West. And then, of course, Marshall kills Old Dominion right after I highlight them. Not even a competition. I talk about Old Dominion. I give them some air time at 4-1, and they just get smacked. So suffice it to say, I did bet on Old Dominion. That was a tough one. But credit to Marshall. I mean, the Herd are doing well after getting gutted, but that was also their fault. They shouldn't have fired their coach. I digress. Navy, speaking of Air Force, Navy outlasts Temple on a 2-point conversion. I know Kale took Temple, and he was really close. Temple's 10.5, and Kale kind of swayed me to take them to plus 10.5. They covered that, which was nice. And last but not least, Troy. Got to mention Troy. Texas State's kind of been that team the last couple years where they really should be pushing for their conference championship in the Sun Belt every year, but they kind of don't. And there's another one. They were up 21 points, 28-7 at the end of the first quarter. But Troy came back, beat Texas State 48-41 in OT. So good on Troy. And that kind of covers it for the recap. Now we'll get into some of the current topics, hot topics. A lot of coach firings since week 1. We're obviously going to talk about James Franklin, but I just wanted to make sure everyone's up to date on the list. We had Brent Pry from Virginia Tech, Deshaun Foster from UCLA, Mike Gundy from Oklahoma State, Sam Pittman from Arkansas, Trent Bray from Oregon State, Trent Dilfer from UAB, and now James Franklin from Penn State. I don't know. I do kind of want to save this conversation a little bit for when Kale's back because I'm 50-50. I'm on the fence on if this was the right move or not. I mean, I know his record against top 10 teams. Everyone, I think, knows that. It's bad. But he has created such a winning culture there. It almost seems like they kind of jumped the gun on it. I know 3-3 potential to be maybe 6-6 now is awful for Penn State. I kind of wish they would have given him another year. He was obviously a player's coach. You can tell by the reactions from a lot of his players. He was a good recruiter. It's hard. It's hard where he's at. The Big Ten is a hard conference, and so maybe it was a little early in my eyes. Maybe I'll go with that. I'll be on that hill. But love to see Kale's thoughts. Love to hear your guys' thoughts too on that. I mean, obviously, a lot of people were calling for it after the back-to-back losses. It's kind of sad. It's kind of sad for college football. I know we kind of bagged on him a bit, being a step above PJ Fleck in terms of kind of hitting the mediocrity of their expectations. But it is sad. It's a sad change. Speaking of UAB real quick, though, I did see Roddy White on Twitter, and he's done some weird things on Twitter, say he wants to be the head coach. So interesting. Keep an eye on that. The coach firings, it's so far been pretty, I guess, predictable. I mean, we talked about Sam Pittman before. We've talked about Mike Gundy, Deshaun Foster, Trent Bray. I mean, Oregon State's 0-7. They're playing Lafayette, an FCS team this week, so maybe they can get their first win. So most of them have been pretty predictable, but, the James Franklin ones, I feel like it's kind of always, it's like Billy Napier. It's been those things where it's like you're calling for it, it doesn't happen, and then you call for it, but you don't really expect it. So that was definitely the big one. And speaking of Napier, there's still some coaches on the hot seat. He's one of them. I mean, 21-23 at Florida, competing for bowl eligibility at Florida. I'm going to continue to bag on Minnesota. They're not Minnesota. They shouldn't be just competing for bowl eligibility. But you know how it's going to go. He's going to get another ranked win to save his job. That can only last so long. If they give him another year, it just might have to be you lose a game, you're out. That just might have to be what it is for them to finally see a change at Florida. Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Like, they're competing in games, but they're not competing for the SEC. They're making it hard. It's not easy to beat Auburn, which that's a positive. It's good, but I think they just need to take a step up. So I would say he's on the hot seat. I think Mike Norvell's on the hot seat. He hasn't won an ACC game since November of 2023. That's 15 straight conference losses. Also, 2 full seasons of conference losses. And we're talking ACC. I'm not a big conference bias guy, but the ACC, it's top heavy. So not getting a win in the ACC for 2 full seasons is not a good look. That win against Florida or against Alabama was great. It's looking more like a fluke win as the weeks go on. I think he's back on the hot seat. I mean, 13-1 to 2-10. Now you're 3-3 after a fast start. Didn't capitalize on it. So He's up there with Napier for me. Something about the Florida schools. Maybe while Kale's down there, you can go check out what's actually going on. Luke Fickell, they just got smacked around by Iowa. I think the final score is 37-0. I know Iowa has a good defense, but man, 37 points to Iowa. He's in 15-17 at Wisconsin after being 57-18 at Cincinnati. He's not turning them around like they expected. I think Wisconsin's in trouble. They might still compete in games as the year goes on, but I don't know. I think Luke Fickell's experiment in Wisconsin is going to slowly come to an end. And so, yeah, he's number 4 on the hot seat for me. But I threw a couple group of 5. Jeff Choate from Nevada. He's 4-15 there. He was 20-22 in Montana State prior. That's not a great record. Montana State is now kind of a better program without him. So I don't know. I don't know if he's the answer for the Wolfpack. And then we got Joe Moorhead, who, for those that don't know, he was an Oregon offensive coordinator and quarterback coach from 2020-2021. He was a winner at Fordham, FCS Fordham. He won 38-13. He actually coached at Mississippi State, went 14-12, so he's above 500, but he's 10-33 at Akron. I think it's time to move on. I think you see what you can do this year with that postseason academic ban. And I think it's time to move on for Akron. I know the coaching pool might not be the best for them, but 10-33, I think your experiment's done with that one. So those are the big hot topics we have going on right now. I think this is going to be somewhat of a quick episode. I mean, Kale's not here to kind of bounce stuff around, but I hope y'all are sticking with me. I'm having fun. I just love college football. I love talking about it. But with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the Week 8 preview. People are already calling it kind of a slumper week. I disagree. Real quick, last night, Sam Houston, UTEP. What a game. What a game. Conference USA weeknight matchup. It was close. It was funny. In the second quarter, there was There was a stop of downs. UTEP went for it on their own 30, got stopped. Next play, Sam Houston fumbles it. UTEP returned it 62 yards. Next play, interception by Sam Houston on the 1 yard line. And then later in the game, there was a fumble being reviewed by UTEP. It looked like a clear fumble. It actually got overturned, so UTEP kept the ball. And of course, the announcer says, yeah, now what's going to happen? Sam Houston's going to block the field goal, and they did. And then Sam Houston goes 3 and out, punts it. UTEP muffs the punt. Sam Houston gets it back. And then what happens? UTEP blocks their field goal. So I think it was just an entertaining game. Sam Houston ended up losing, so they're now 0-7. They're calling for Phil Longo to be fired, which I guess he could be on the hot list too. He's 0-7 in his first year at Sam Houston. But I mean, he was an OC at Ole Miss, OC at Wisconsin at a point, and he was an OC at Sam Houston. He's a guy that wants to be there, so I think they should give him some grace. Sam Houston got gutted in the portal. But I digress to the Week 8 preview. Louisville versus number 2 Miami. 4-1 Louisville, 5-0 Miami. I think this is a scary game for Miami. It's a challenge. I'm not going to say Louisville's going to win it, but I think it's going to be a tough game. It's a Friday night matchup. Looking forward to that one. Another Friday night matchup. We got number 25 Nebraska at Minnesota. I don't know, Minnesota, man, at home. They're 4-2. They haven't been looking great. Only beat Purdue by 7 at home. But Nebraska, I don't know if I fully trust them yet. I want to. I like Matt Rule. I like Raiola. I like a lot of their players. I want to trust them. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little gun shy on taking Nebraska. Number 10 LSU, 5-1 versus number 17 Vanderbilt. LSU is actually a 2.5 point underdog. Good for Vanderbilt, man. Good for them turning around the program. That's going to be a good game. I'm probably leaning LSU, but that might be my recency bias. I want Vanderbilt to win. That'd be awesome. They're both 5-1. So I'm gonna lean LSU, but I think Vanderbilt, I think they can get the win. Georgia Tech, number 12, they're 6-0, quietly ranked number 12, but they're going at Duke, who's 4-2. Duke is actually the favorite here. It's an interesting game. Duke's been balling out ever since their loss to Tulane, right after their loss to Illinois. Darian Mensah has been playing really well. I like Manny Diaz. He's actually a head coaching candidate, I think, for Penn State. So that's gonna be an interesting game. I would definitely tune into that one. I mean, yeah, Duke's not a pushover, especially playing at their house. Then we got Baylor 4-2 versus TCU 4-2. I mean, still that race for the really tight Big 12. And TCU's been playing really well. They just took down Kansas State pretty handedly. So I don't know. That's an exciting game. Obviously, they're not ranked, but they're both 4-2, and they're both very much alive in the Big 12 race. But speaking of alive in the Big 12 race, we have a 5-1 Houston. Not many people are talking about them. They're at home. Arizona's coming in. They're at 4-2. Both teams that were at the very bottom of the Big 12 last year are now trying to push their way up to the top. So I think that's going to be a really exciting game. I mean, honestly, I think Houston does have the edge. They've been playing really good on offense. Their defense has been pretty solid. It's cool to see them kind of turn it around so quickly, but also for Arizona. They turned it around from last year. They're already at their win total. I think they can surpass that now. So that'll be a fun game. And then obviously, number 5, Ole Miss versus number 9, Georgia. I think both teams had ugly games last week. It's just Ole Miss had an ugly game versus a much lesser opponent in Washington State. I don't know. Hopefully Lane Kiffin can get them on track going into Athens. I'm inclined to lean Ole Miss. Maybe it's just because I'm biased and I want Ole Miss to win more than I want Georgia to win. But I think that'll be a great game either way. I'm really excited for that. And then back to Old Dominion. I'm going to keep talking about them. They're 4-2. They're playing at James Madison, who's 5-1. James Madison's been balling a little bit. I don't know. I feel like Old Dominion might get back on track because they're not a bad team. I think they just had a slip-up week. And then throw Oregon in here. Talked about earlier. They're at Rutgers. Rutgers is 3-3. I believe it's a 5:30 p.m. Central Time kickoff. Not the easiest. We've seen this in the past. These teams going coast to coast, especially for night games. It's hard. I think Oregon's going to win. I'm confident they're going to win. It might be ugly. It might be a little bit of a reminder of last year against Wisconsin. I hope not, but you never know with the Big Ten and traveling. Then we got Washington State versus Virginia. Number 18, Virginia. The reason I put this in there is from my Washington State buddy. Like them scheduling, because they're in the weird Pac-12 where they're going to play Oregon State twice. Them scheduling Ole Miss, they were like, yeah, that's probably a hard one. They probably knew that. But Virginia being ranked 18, as one of their other games, like random games to schedule, that's kind of brutal. So I feel for them. I think it's going to be a hard trip to Virginia. I think they're going to come out the loss. I think Virginia's going to improve to 6-1. We'll see where they're ranked next week. And then we got Maryland versus UCLA. Obviously, I've been talking a lot about Maryland. UCLA is now the favorite again. They've broken back into being the favorite in a game. They're 2-4. Maryland's 4-2. I got to root for UCLA here. I don't know. I know I have a sweet spot for Maryland, but I'm going to find myself rooting for UCLA. I wanted to continue on. I was talking actually with someone today about UCLA. He's a big UCLA fan. Apparently, the biggest problem they have now is their athletic director. Their athletic director is the weak link of UCLA football. Everyone else is, and he kind of went through an article he read, everyone else is really solid. They're doing their job well, but it's the athletic director that's kind of holding them back. But he has one of the most highest payouts for athletic directors. So it seems a little unfortunate. It seems like they're stuck with him. And one of the crazy things that he did is he accidentally emailed a spreadsheet of their boosters ranked by who gives the most money. And who was up there? Troy Aikman. So Troy Aikman got his address, phone number, email released by the athletic director. So that's crazy. Troy Aikman's mad. I would be, but the athletic director didn't apologize for it. So that sounds like where the trouble's coming from for UCLA at the moment. So we'll see if anything happens. I'm doubtful replacing an athletic director with that big of a payout it's not easy. So I feel for UCLA right now, but hopefully the interim OC, the interim head coach, they can keep getting it done and they can keep winning. Because, a bowl game for UCLA after starting going forward would be awesome. And I think more people need to watch bowl games anyway. So if UCLA can kind of make a little comeback, get in and maybe win, I think that'd be great for the sport. And then moving on, we got 4 ranked matchups that I want to talk about that end the slate. Tennessee, Alabama, both 5-1. Alabama does own the series, but we've seen how it's been a little flip-floppy in the last couple of years. I think Alabama takes it. I think they're good at home. I hope Kalen DeBoer wears his black Air Force One hoodie. And I think it's going to be tough. Tennessee's defense has been giving up a lot of points. The offense has been able to bail them out, but I think this one, if it goes down to the wire, I'm Alabama. I think Alabama's going to take that. And I'm not just saying that so Kale's happy when he listens to it on his vacation. I'm a Bama fan. Roll Tide. I don't get pissed about nothing but Tide. After that, we got number 20 USC at number 13 Notre Dame. I'm rocking USC. I like them. I'm no longer worried about teams going in the South Bend. Obviously, Texas A&M is a great team, but 28-7 versus Boise State at home. Boise State's not the best. They're not what they were last year. All right, they're not the top end of the group of 5. Not saying they're a bad team by any means. That's not the score I want to see from the number 13 team in the nation. So I'm rocking USC here. I'm excited for that one. And then after that, we got number 16 Missouri versus Auburn. Big reason I put this on here, Auburn's still competing. They're 3-3. Missouri's 5-1. This is Missouri's first road game of the season, believe it or not. So it's gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be tough for Missouri. I think this is almost a must-win for Auburn. But I'm leaning Missouri on this one. I think they'll get it done. They'll outlast Auburn. Teams have just been finding a way to beat Auburn at this point. And finally, the Holy War. Number 23 Utah versus number 15 BYU. I love that it's called the Holy War, first of all. And this is it's been an exciting rivalry the past couple years. So Utah had won 9 straight from 2010 to 2019. No COVID game, so no 2020 game. And then now BYU is on a 2-game win streak. And the funny thing, when I was doing a little bit of research on this game, BYU says Utah leads the series 59-33, whereas Utah says they lead 62-36. So I'm curious where that 3-3 stretch came from or is gone. I don't know what's going on because it's not like they're just downplaying the other team's wins or losses. They're doing it to themselves for both. So I don't know what's going on there. I thought that was kind of funny though. Utah is actually a 3.5-point favorite, and I know I've been talking a little bit down on BYU. But to segue into Cam's most likely upset, since I'm alone this week, we're going to keep that name. BYU plus 3.5 over Utah. I mean, it seems like, besides last year, BYU was great last year, but even the year before when they won, BYU figures it out against Utah. There's a level of hatred there, and it's at BYU. And man, do those Mormons know how to support their team strictly off school spirit. No other substances in the system besides hype. And that's awesome. That's awesome to see. So I don't know. I'm rocking with BYU here. Utah, not a bad team. Good team. 5-1, ranked, number 23. Some about this game, though, I'm not just going to give it to the home team because BYU has won on the road, too. But I'm going to give it to BYU here. I mean, they're playing exciting football, even when it comes down to the last few minutes. So I'm going to go with BYU. It's one of my first most likely upsets. Another one we got is San Jose State plus 5.5 over Utah State. I might run with the spread. I might move that to maybe plus 7. The Mountain West is the Mountain West, and Utah State's not really at the pinnacle of it. San Jose State, they lost at Wyoming last week, which Wyoming's a tough place to play. I'll tell you about Laramie, tough. So I might just rock with that, just off a gut feeling. Minnesota plus 7.5. I think I'm rocking with that spread. Not going to say money line. I'm going to rock with that spread. LSU, mentioned that earlier. Washington. I think I'm going to rock with Washington plus 5.5 here over Michigan. Obviously, it's at the big house. Michigan's not a bad team at all. Washington barely got it done at Maryland, but I don't know. Washington's playing good football. I like Demon Williams. I like Jonah Coleman. I like Denzel Boston. So, yeah, I'm going to roll with the Huskies on that one. One that I might take money line is UNLV plus 12.5 over Boise State. This kind of turned into a rivalry in the last couple of years with both of them duking it out in the regular season and for the conference championship. I don't know. UNLV's 6-0. I know they just gave up a ton of points to Air Force, but Dan Mullen, last chance U with a lot of players there. Like Calandria, quarterback. He came from Virginia. I like him there. Justin Flo's on the roster. He was at Oregon. I remember watching his huddle highlights of him just smacking kids in high school. Now he's there. And they got Vontez Perfect, I think, on the coaching staff. I don't know. Something exciting about UNLV football is going on there. An exciting team. I think it will be an exciting game no matter what. I'm 100% rocking them with the spread, but I might take a money line just for some fun. Another one I might take money line just for some is Coastal Carolina plus 10.5 over App State. This is also a bit of a rivalry. And I swear, whatever team is heavily favored just seems sluggish in this game. Like 2 years ago, when Coastal was coming off an 11-win season, they were looking good. They had a good quarterback. They had a good team. They were favored by probably about 10 or 11 points, and they lost, Or they got so close to losing even when they shouldn't, when App State wasn't the hottest. So it's kind of a rivalry. I'm going to rock with Coastal plus 10.5. I'm going to keep going with Maryland. I'm going with Maryland for a third week in a row, plus 3.5 versus UCLA. Even though I think UCLA will win, I'm going to rock with the Terrapins to at least cover the spread. I already mentioned BYU. And finally, is a little Hail Mary, Stanford plus 18.5 over Florida State. Florida State is traveling over Stanford. I think it's like a 9 or 10 p.m. kickoff Central Time. Stanford's done some weird things in the ACC already with these late games and these traveling. Florida State, they should win. They should win. But even a couple years ago, Stanford against Louisville, when Louisville was actually playing pretty well, won at home. And late in the season, we're not late yet, but I don't know, something about Stanford. I'm going to take them plus 18.5, maybe throw a couple bucks on the money line just if you want to have some fun. But that does it. That does it for episode 12, college football. Kind of a shorter one today. I know it's probably not the best without Kale here, Miss the guy. I know you guys do too, but I hope you at least stuck it out with me. Hope you guys enjoyed it today. I'll be back Tuesday for sure with another college football episode. Hopefully Kale's back. We'll see if we can get him to call in. He's a busy guy. But if not, we'll both be seeing you next Thursday. Hope y'all keep having a great one. Hope you guys enjoy the college football, the NFL, all that. And I can't wait to talk to you guys again. See ya.